All right, here we go right now. Number 26, episode number 26. We're moving right along, people. We are moving right along. It's great. Now, episode 25 got good reviews. And some people are like, what are you talking about? Shadow. You're going to get back to cycling? Well, it is. We're cycling through. We are cycling through our lives. And I guess this is the time for things like that. Okay. Now, this episode might be a little challenging for some people, I guess. Because, we're going to get into some things that, for me, the winter seems to bring out. It really goes back to that lack of sunlight that Bob was talking about, and the isolation of being inside. And you start to think about stuff. And these are some of the challenges for people, I guess young and old alike, but I'm talking to mostly seniors, so anybody else who can get something from this is good. It's good. So yeah, I'm gonna get into it. So we're going to try to break these things down one at a time. The first thing is the economic and financial pressures, right? Once you retire or once you get to a certain place in life, even though most people don't think their income is fixed, but after a certain period, you're pretty much in a range of what you're going to expect from your employer. And definitely after you retire, you know what you're going to be receiving every week, every month, bi-monthly, however you get your check. So yeah. And then the pressures are, can I keep pace with inflation? Can I keep pace with my monthly bills? How do I allocate these things? All right. Now, first step is to know exactly what you're paying per month. This takes some control. You have to begin to take control of these things. I know for me, a lot of and other people, I have things that come out every month. I don't even look at it. I know it's coming out every month. And after a while, unless you go back and you go through these things, you tend to lose track of this stuff. Subscriptions that you got that you don't even take care of. I mean, bills and stuff, or not bills, but things that you're paying for that you're really not even using. My big thing was Netflix. I don't even use that much, and I'm like, why am I even paying for this? But there are others, that tend to pressurize a situation. And then there's the cost of healthcare, and then the other thing, especially when you're working and you are designing your retirement, there's this feeling that, am I going to outlive my savings, my finances, my plans? Am I going to live longer than 20 years, let's say? If you retire at 65, am I going to live longer than 85? And if I do, will I have money? How will I sustain myself? So those are things, right? Now, at some point in your work life, I guess now people are more vigilant on this, and they take steps to have 401ks and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's enough, really. I don't know if that's enough. I suggest that you create an income for yourself. Sounds crazy? But yeah, create an income for yourself. I'm sure there's something that you do that you can monetize. Even if it's just a few dollars extra a month. Something, some service, some craft that you could offer to somebody that they'll pay a few dollars for. I mean, it may not be a lot, but hey man, anything is better than nothing. That's what I say. And the other thing is finding adequate housing that will not, outpace your income and your savings. So I'm mentioning these things again, not to scare people or not to, throw like oil in the water or whatever. It's just to make you aware that these things are there in the background. And I'm sure you're aware, but to be consciously aware so it doesn't become something that looms over your head and you can become active, on whatever level, a little bit or a lot, doesn't matter, to kind of work with and work for and work against some of these things. It gives you a better mentality, especially in the wintertime when you're in there and everything looks gloomy, like today, winter wonderland type shit. But Sunday morning, you're in there. So yeah, just want to throw that out there, and that's all part of it, I guess. Doing things with friends, going out, seeing live performances, interacting, going to little social gatherings. It really, really helps. It really helps mentality. This number 2 is health and well-being. This idea of knowing that you can get or have health care when you need it, access to health care, and the idea that you might have cognitive decline in the future, that you might Alzheimer's and certain things, and this mental health crisis in general. Now, this portion here, you got to keep active, not only physically that we talk about, walking and riding and doing a few calisthenics in the morning. We don't only talk about that, but we're also talking about mental calisthenics, puzzles, games, conversations, not just superficial conversations, but interactions that require you to think and kind of work stuff out. The brain could be just considered a muscle, and if you don't use it actively, it'll begin to show decline. It really will. It really will. And if you if you do the same things repetitively, you're almost not even required to think. You just do it, every day. You get up, you drink your coffee or your tea, and you go sit on your couch and you watch. Guys be watching at Sports Center, or people be watching Good Morning America. It's just the same repetitive thing. You got to change that up and challenge your mind to think. And you know what we say around here? It's not what you think, it's what you think about. So that definitely helps. The other thing is this fear that some people have over technology, right? That it's so confusing and it's moving so fast that you can never keep up. I got this phone that I don't even know how to use. I got a computer, I got a laptop, I got stuff. But I only know I just get my emails and I watch some videos on it maybe. Now this relates to the other part about the mind and keeping the mind active, right? Technology is a way to do that also. If you challenge yourself to learn new programs, things that can help you organize your finances. So one thing can help work the other. I mean, it seems challenging and it seems daunting. For me, I have to learn a lot of programs and things for, I do music and other things, these editing of these videos. And I always say my learning curve is like a straight line. It takes me that long to really understand these programs that I use, but I just sit there until I do it, It may take a young person a half hour to figure stuff out. It might take me 2 days, so doesn't matter. I'm retired. I got the time, so I do it. No problem. So the whole thing, it's just staying active and staying engaged. This is what I always come back to. You can use the technology to help with your finances, but using the technology also helps with your cognitive abilities, right? And it can also help with socializing, especially if you go to senior centers where they offer computer training or what. You might say, why do I need it? You don't need it, but you do need it for your brain, And it could take some of the physical things that you normally would do and let the computer do it. So yeah. And the other thing that's a kind of creeping thing in people's mind is their social worries, loss of purpose. We speak about this all the time. This is the thing with the shadow that I was doing last week about understanding your purpose, and if you got no purpose, what you got, If you got no purpose, what do you have? You have to define that for yourself. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be like, my purpose is saving the world. Nah, it doesn't have to be that, It could be just doing something a little bit better today, or showing somebody the way by your example, by your words, helping a family member, or just being there for people to bounce ideas off, We don't really know why we come here or why, this existence is here. Your whole life could be just to help one person, and it could be really something incidental to you. Like, I just helped this old lady cross the street. That was it. That could have been your whole life's purpose. And you don't know the effect that you might have had on that one person by doing that one thing. So just be purposeful. Be intentional when you get out here and you interact with people. All these moments are important. All these moments are important. So just be present, and you'll find purpose in your presence. You find purpose in your presence just by being there and participating fully, and sharing genuinely. That'll give you some purpose, and it'll help your existential worries about what's going on. You know what's going on. You got purpose. You help people. You do things. You care. So we all want to be big and grand and famous or whatever, and do this huge thing. And everybody looks at you and applauds and says, "Hey, that's a great guy," right? But sometimes life is not like that. All our lives is not like that. Personally, I talk about this channel and getting subscriptions. Maybe I'll never have 1,000 subscriptions. Maybe I'll never have 500 subscriptions. But based on the feedback that I'm getting, I'm good. We navigate. We good. And the other thing, the fifth thing is the aging and having your own autonomy. and losing mobility as you get older. Now, it's funny how these things all relate, right? If you stay active, chances are your mobility will either stay the same or improve, right? It's definitely not going to get worse. Not if you're walking and stretching and doing like 10 push-ups in the morning or whatever you can do, 3, 20, 27, whatever. Do some push-ups in the morning, twist around, you stretch your back out, you know what I mean? If these things are consistent, chances are you're not going to lose mobility and you'll stay flexible. And we know that if you're flexible, if you fall down, you can flex. If you're brittle, so yeah. And the other thing that people don't like to think about, which I'm going to say right now, people probably going to turn off now. End of life planning, right? We all know that we're getting out of here sometime. We all know. We can act like it's not going to happen. You can act like you're going to be the one human where that never happens to, you know? But this society, they don't really plan for transitions, you know? It's always a surprise. Oh, wow. It's always a surprise. Yeah, it's a surprise, especially to the person. But we all know that it's coming, right? So it takes the pressure off people around you if you have a plan in place. That's all I'm going to say. Just have a plan in place. You ain't got to dwell on it, and you ain't got to ruminate about it. Just have a plan in place. That's it. You know? Okay. So, yeah. That's where I'm coming from today. And, it's another beautiful morning out here in the neighborhood. Got a little snow, wet snow, a little rain. It's not sticking, thankfully, but it makes for a nice postcard. And this is it. This is episode 26. And we are creating a lifestyle or amplifying a lifestyle that gives purpose and meaning and joy. You know, there's no need to give none of that up as we get older. We can just do it better. Maybe we can't do it faster, but we can do it better, right? Or we can do it more. Okay, so yes. And remember now, it's not what you think, it's what you think about.
Sometimes living your life is like being in love with someone who you know in your heart will cheat on you without the slightest hesitation. But you hang in there anyway, leaving murder, suicide, and conditional love on the list of viable options. You head invariably toward a manifestation of bittersweet endings. And what the fuck did I do that for? Again? Anyway, learning again and again that inside every hero lives a villain, and inside every lover hides a hater. You muster the strength to play out the threat of your existence, maintaining relative sanity and homeostasis, to the utter dismay of secret admirers and random passers-by.